Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason and I'm here to go over your retrospective for UFC Fight Night Randamie versus Ladd. So things just were not in our favor tonight. We went a whopping 8-4, so 33% accuracy. Nothing really great to write home about here. We'll still go over the card and talk about it a bit, but I really got to be honest, and I might sound kind of sore about it, but I really think it was just a fluke here. You know, the main event was just a little crazy the way things went down. I thought we had some bad decisions. There was potentially some early stoppages, and then the Simon fight, you know, Faber just pulls a fight. I don't think anybody necessarily really saw him winning. Just kind of a weird night, a very MMA kind of night. A lot of unpredictable outcomes. Just a really tough one. Let's get into it though. Here's the show. All right, so in our main event, not too much to really talk about here. 16-second knockout. I think Randamie breaks Ronda Rousey's bantamweight knockout time. A lot of record-setting events, last week. Masvidal this week, Randamie. And she just connects on Ladd. Ladd goes down. There's no doubt that it definitely was a knockdown, and she turned her back to Randamie. Randamie comes in for a little ground and pound, but Herb Dean just thinks that Ladd's out, I guess, jumps in, calls the fight off. Ladd, was she really there? Would she have survived in ground and pound? I doubt it, to be perfectly honest. I'd pick Ladd. But yeah, she just had no preparation for that heavy striking game of Randamie, or, maybe I'm being too hard on her. I think one just pierced her guard and really just connected well. And Randamie is a 10-time Muay Thai kickboxing champion. If Aspen could run it back, I'm sure she'd go for a takedown and not try to even stand with her for even 10 seconds, let alone an additional 6. That's how long it took. I think Randamie is a great fighter, and the numbers didn't shake out for us to make that call for her. If Ladd had ground her down, I think it could have played out. And I said that in the original podcast. I said that if Randamie could prevent, stop takedowns, she would definitely have her way with Ladd. So it did play out the opposite of how it wanted it to, but definitely saw it coming. So, hey, we're picking up an L there. Moving on to our next event, Uriah Faber, Ricky Simon, or Simon as I've been calling him. Performance of the night, money for Faber, so hats off to him. 46-second knockout. I thought Simon looked good early on. He had some decent exchanges. I thought Simon was playing a good rangy game, but Faber, it's like he just figured out his timing. He kind of smiles, steps back. I think he totally baits Simone that he's going to go for a takedown and dips his head a bit, comes in with the overhand right, clips Simone, and that's honestly all she really wrote. Simone goes down. There's a little bit of ground and pound exchange. Ref comes in pretty early on. Not an early stoppage. Not quite like an Aspen Ladd one in the main event where it was questionable. But the ref came in, stopped it. Simone was still going for a leg there. He was trying, everything he could to wrestle his way back into the fight. But it was honestly over. It was a solid stoppage, and Uriah Faber baits a young, inexperienced fighter into making a mistake. I think that's what happened here. Uriah's 40 years old. He was a former champion. This guy is a high-level, high IQ fighter, and he managed to get the better of Simone. And, Simone was so heavily favored that, I think a lot of people got this one wrong, myself included. The more experienced man, the saltier man, ended up picking this one up. All right, in our next fight, we also had another L. So Josh Emmett, Mirsad Bektic. Another very close one. Bektic can't quite reach the bell. 4 minutes, 25 seconds in. We have Emmett just connecting with his just great power. There's no question about this guy's power. I think he's a little too deep into the pocket. He reminds me of Jeremy Stevens in that regard too much. Bektic couldn't make him pay in any way. Anytime he came in to throw heavy hands, Bektic couldn't get any kind of technical kickboxing rhythm together, and he ended up dropping this one. If we had to run it back, maybe this thing plays out the same way. I like Emmett. Maybe he's back. Maybe he's on the run that he missed out on when Jimmy Rivera kind of broke his face. Maybe we'll be calling fights for him in the future. But yeah, Bektic just couldn't get it going here, and we picked up another L. Another tough one to call is what it is. Then in our next bout, we had Carl Roberson defeating Wellington Turman. So this one's kind of interesting for the podcast itself. So originally, I kind of said there wasn't a whole lot of data here, and I had said Roberson was going to win this one based on the information I had. Well, some additional information came out that I saw, and we went, oh, hey, actually, this is a Turman fight. So I ended up actually putting money betting on Turman, and I want to call this one a robbery, to be perfectly honest. Turman was outstruck 50-25, but these were all ground strikes basically by Roberson. Turman controlled all of the fight. He had him in his guard. He would not let him posture up to drop many shots. I mean, this control was all on Turman. He had his back for basically the entire last round. I mean, if you look at that fight, I can definitely see 1 round to 1 round going into the third, but Turman easily won that last round. It was a split decision. It was a bad decision, in my opinion, and what's worse is, this guy Turman, he debuting fighter, hardly making a dime, and he's going to miss out on his win money in a fight that he definitely won. A fight, 7 passes, 2 submission attempts, 4 takedowns. Yes, he did not throw as many shots. In fact, he was outstruck 2-1. But it's 50-25 over a 15-minute fight. You can't tell me Roberson was throwing a dramatically better punches in this fight. I don't know. I don't like this one. It was a little L for us. It would have been a huge underdog bet as well. That one I'm also a little salty on because I would have come out pretty good on that one. But hey, it is what it is. I'd told you guys Roberson originally, so if you want my original idea, you definitely would have worked out for you there. But hey, it didn't work out for me ultimately, and that's how it plays out. All right, getting back to some wins here. Marvin Vettori defeats Cesar Ferreira in a very good contest. I thought Vettori just looked better everywhere. The takedowns, I think, really supplanted his victory here, and he just looked really good tonight. Like I said, this guy took Stylebender, Israel Adesanya to a split decision. So he's definitely a top prospect at middleweight, and I expect to see more out of this guy in the near future. In our next one, a fight that I thought was on lock, we had John Allen and Mike Rodriguez, and this one, I thought Rodriguez looked better on the feet when they were standing, but the takedowns for Allen, he had a huge reach disadvantage, and he would just close the gap again and again and again and score these takedowns and just grind down Rodriguez and pick up the W there. That is just, it's tough. I just got so many L's here tonight. I think they're all tough is ultimately how it's going. It's just not that great. But yeah, so Rodriguez just can't, use his range to keep Allen off him. He does outstrike him, but Allen is too determined, comes in, scores 4 takedowns on the night. Rodriguez none, and he only slightly outstrikes him. So ultimately, a good call there. So hey, is what it is. Andre Fili does defeat Shayman Moraes, though. First round, 3 minutes. I said Fili is just fire, amazing fighter, awesome alpha male fighter. And he proved it here tonight. Shayman Moraes, he always looks good. You always think he's going to be good on his promo. I don't know. He just has the look of the fighter. He just looks like he's going to do well and just always kind of drops the ball, it seems. His last loss to Sodiq Yusuff, now to Andre Fili. I'm not sure what's next for Moraes, but I am looking forward to Fili. Hate his fight name, like I always say, Touchy Fili, but I love to watch the kid work, and he put in a great set of rounds tonight. Moving on, next one, we had Juliana Pena and Nico Montano, and this one was just kind of tough. Very close fight in my opinion, but ultimately I think Pena just did a little more damage. Also, it struck Montano, but it's a little sad because Montano actually had one of, I think, the first Native American fight kits. She was representing her Navajo tribe, and not that that should mean you get the win or anything, but I would have liked to have seen her, get a W there just for representing her tribe, her creed, and all of her people. And, Chance Rincounter got an opportunity to do this last week. Montano wasn't able to do it this week. It is what it is. But still, welcome back to the UFC, Nico. I do hope to see you fight again. I know you won the Ultimate Fighter. You were the lineal champion at 125 pounds. So, I know you moved up to Bantam there and things just didn't work out as well. But, hey, I'd love to see you come back down to 125 or fight again. I think you are special, and I think you can get some victories going forward. Just wasn't your night, much like my own. And another fight that I ultimately called in the Patreon, a do not touch, Ryan Hall versus Darren Elkins. So Ryan Hall, hats off to this guy. He is one hell of a combatant. We saw him nearly put out Elkins with a great head kick early on. Had a hard time pressing, his grappling game. There was no takedowns in this fight, so it ultimately, wasn't the Hall matchup that he really wanted it to be, the grappling matchup, and I can see why. Elkins would want to keep this fight on the feet as much as possible, and Elkins is tough as hell. I mean, these guys battered each other as much as possible. Ultimately, the Hall picks up the W here in a fight that we were not able to call correctly, but I wouldn't have touched this fight to begin with. I in my heart of hearts, wanted Hall, or thought Hall would win this fight. Just numbers at Elkins, and that was what it was. All right, moving on. We finally get a W, and I thought we were actually doing okay. So up until we get to really, these later fights, it was looking okay. I got the Martinez fight here right. So Martinez defeats Ping Luan in just a decent fight. Obviously, that knee performance of the night money. Awesome performance from Martinez. It wasn't via boxing like I thought exactly, but he did have very good hands in this fight and was able to outstrike Ping Yuan. The next one in a fight that was far too lopsided. Liviana Souza, just really no competition for Brandon Van Buren. Van Buren strikes nearly 3-1, scores more takedowns. This one just didn't work out in our favor. I'm not sure what happened with Souza there. I thought she was going to be the better contestant. It just didn't work out the way we wanted it to. And then in the final contest, Benito Lopez does pick up a W to Morales. I thought that he did a little more damage here tonight, even though he was outstruck, and he ultimately was able to pick up the W for us. So like I said, 4-8. Technically, I guess if you go with the Roberson fight, instead of going 4-8, I guess I'm 5-7. Neither one is all that great. I'm calling it 4-8, though. I'm taking the low road here because that's how the numbers shook out at the end. But if you did take Roberson, hey, hats off to you. You picked up a couple of bucks there. Kind of a short podcast here tonight. I didn't get a chance to watch all of the fights firsthand. I kind of popped in a little later in here. I popped in for Vettori, so just had some things going on today. Wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I was able to catch a few highlights at least for the rest of the undercard and speak to it. But yeah, I think tonight was just a fluke. I don't think that is representative of the numbers. When I've back tested this metric here, it just did a lot better than this. I'm not sure what happened here tonight. I haven't seen an outcome like this through back testing in 10 fights. So I'm not really sure what happened here. I think it was just a lot of flukes. When I look back, that all of a sudden Turman goes different for us, and then Simone wins like we all think he was supposed to, and then Aspinall gets some takedowns, right back in the positive. And I think, things then go our way. And that Turman fight, God, that is the most frustrating fight I saw tonight. I mean, this guy, he imposes the BJJ game, a little bit of the BJJ blue balls. Let's face facts. He wasn't able to get a submission in, but holy hell, I mean, how many submissions do you have to pull on a guy? How many transitions? How badly do you have to beat him up in mount in the final round to get a W here? I'm not saying he was beating him up with out and outright ground and pound TKO situation, but still he had dominant position. I don't know, just not happy with the way things played out there. Let's just put it that way. Let's get to housekeeping, though. So you can get in touch with the Fighting Spirit Podcast at fightingspiritpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on YouTube. We're also on Twitter at MMA Fight Pick 01. Follow us on Facebook. And there's also a Patreon, so there's a special Patreon episode out there right now. We have 3 tiers of Patreon. With that being said as well, we're going to be introducing a little more regular spirit and beer reviews into the podcast over the next couple of weeks. So I think starting in the month of August, there's a Patreon poll for what beers I'm going to review. So if you want to support the show in that way and have a little bit of, back and forth with me, feel free to, support, and then you'll be able to vote, or feel free to listen on free feeds and, just enjoy the show as is. It's of no obligation to you. It's strictly a donation, and your financial support, if you choose to, provide it, is 100% appreciated by myself. And, this show wouldn't be as much fun if it wasn't for you guys out there listening as, you guys are at the moment. Hopefully we get more, though. Better nights, I'm sure, will bring more listeners. If you can't tell, this is kind of a rambling cast. Not a humble cast, but a rambling cast. I'm really not feeling these losses here. And I feel like they're all flukes. I really do, and it's tough, Like, I think started out pretty well. I was like, all right, kind of rolling here, a couple wins, and then nothing, just shut down, shut out. Really tough. Well, that being said, though, I'm going to crunch this Dos Anjos-Edwards fight for next week. I think that we got a much better shot at getting back on track here. And, I'm going to do my best to provide some better numbers, I guess. That's all I can do. You know, I'll look back at this card. I don't see a lot of stuff I can honestly change, and I try to learn from stuff, but I don't see a lot of stuff I can change. I really think it was a fluke. I think we're bound to get a bomb, and I think the bomb just came today here for this formula. I think it just bombed out. It's just unlucky as hell. All right, so if you stayed with me through this rambling mess of a humble-ish cast, so to speak, I'd like to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, and I will speak to you again on Tuesday with hopefully some really good solid fight picks, and I will be back with that. So until then, happy fight picking.